MeMonster.
Chapter 186, Yasha Transformation. This was one of the many abilities included in Boss's gift, Shadow. In this state, her entire eyes, pupils, and sclera turned red, and her irises took on a beastly form. Her dynamic vision and physical abilities increased without limit. If her abilities and stats weren't restricted, just staring at an opponent would have released magic power strong enough to tear down the entire space. But inside the Tower of Wish, Yasha Transformation only increased her physical strength. She charged forward recklessly, like a wild beast. Her body moved like a bullet, too fast for the naked eye to follow. However, Bell easily dodged her attack. No, he didn't even need to dodge. His body simply vaporized. Still, Boss didn't give up. She chased after him, swinging her shadow blade in every direction. The blade's edge shattered the valley and cracked the earth. The entire valley became a chaotic battlefield. "You haven't changed," Bell spoke as his magic power clashed with Boss's. Hearing this, Boss attacked with even greater rage. The number of her shadow blades multiplied, and her shadow deepened, threatening to swallow the darkness itself. But Boss couldn't maintain this form for long. It consumed too much magic power. I sighed and took out the Desert Eagle. I was curious why Boss had lost her composure so suddenly, but now wasn't the time to ask. I surrounded the bullets with Stigma's magic power. The attribute I needed now was anti-magic. Bell and Boss were tangled together. Boss kept chasing Bell, who was constantly evading her. Of course, if I couldn't hit an enemy while avoiding a friend, I'd be shaming the name of my master sharpshooter's gift. I aimed at Bell and activated bullet time. The world slowed down. Even so, Bell and Boss were incredibly fast. Which angle should I choose to hit Bell without hitting Boss? The calculation and decision were instinctual. I pulled the trigger lightly. Chwa! The bullet shot toward Bell, its trajectory a perfect blend of speed and angle. The bullet grazed his shoulder. Immediately, he regained physical form. Boss seized the chance and landed a solid punch. Her fist, loaded with magic power, struck Bell's stomach. He was sent flying, coughing up blood. Quang! His body slammed into the cliffside. It was clear, at a glance, the wound wasn't fatal. That blow ended the battle, but Boss couldn't finish him off. Urk! The magic power needed for Yasha transformation was far more than Boss could currently handle. Her pupils had already returned to normal. Her magic power probably wouldn't last another 3 minutes. Boss glared at Bell with killing intent, but couldn't move. Instead, I stepped toward Bell. "Hello." "Yeah, hi." But I could tell he was just putting on a brave face. His fight with Boss had lasted less than 3 minutes, but battles between the strong always ended quickly. He no longer had the strength to stop me. "Last time I let you go, but there won't be a second time." I pointed the shotgun at his forehead. "I know. I shouldn't have met you here. What a shame. It's hard enough to deal with one of you, but 2 versus 1? Bell answered calmly. Even considering he had 7 lives, he was far too composed. "Say hello to your boss for me." He even grinned and echoed that line I'd once said to Jin Sahyuk. "See you later." So this was what it felt like to hear that line. How unpleasant. I wrapped anti-magic power around the bullet and fired without hesitation. Quang! A loud bang filled the air. Soon, everything was silent, and his body scattered into a current of magic power. Just like that, he died. It was a simple ending, but I couldn't feel happy. There were too many questions I wanted to ask. What was his relationship with Boss? What happened between them to make Boss, who was always so calm, lose herself like that? While I was pondering, a strange noise came from behind. Boss! I turned and saw Boss convulsing. I quickly ran over. "Hey,
Hey, relax, relax. Boss was still trying to use her magic power. She'd lost her reason and was still fighting Belle in her mind. Her eyes were turning red again. She was struggling to draw out Yasha once more. It's over. Calm down. Hey! At this rate, all her vessels would burst, and she'd die at least once. I had no choice but to restrain Boss to stop her from using magic power and moving. I took her into my arms, our bodies pressed together. Boss trembled in my arms. I could feel her shaking. Please calm down. Calm down. I even used suggestive voice. Still, it seemed like it wasn't enough, so I stroked her gently. It's okay. Everything is okay. Maybe Dwarf's dexterity worked even in this situation. Boss began to calm down, and the magic power of Yasha that threatened to burst her blood vessels subsided. I held her in silence. Her body was cold as ice, and her breathing was shallow. The outburst of magic power had stopped, but now the side effects of using too much magic power were appearing. Still, this was better than letting her go on a rampage. Sleep tight for a while. I whispered and took out the orb of regeneration and infused it with my magic power. Soon, green light rose from the orb, wrapping Boss in warmth. Thanks to the warmth, her trembling stopped and her body temperature returned to normal. But at the same time, Boss's consciousness faded. She sank into a deep sleep, and I turned my head with her in my arms. The NPC Kedrick was watching us. The moment our eyes met, he turned away in surprise. I carefully laid Boss on the ground and stepped toward Kedrick. After all, he was the reason we were here. I hadn't expected such a big event to happen. Hello. Hello. Despite Belle having held him by the neck just a moment ago, Kedrick seemed fine. If this were a game, there would be a lot of conversation at this point, maybe some cheesy introductions and greetings. But I got straight to the point. I was too tired for small talk. I came to save you. What? All of a sudden? You were held captive here, right? I pointed at the shackle around Kedrick's neck. Yes. Kedrick nodded. Despite his muscular build, he seemed meek and docile. But why were you... I don't think he was trying to kill me. Huh? That was unexpected. When I looked at him curiously, Kedrick fumbled with his shackle. I think he was just trying to break the shackle. I told him you couldn't do it by force, but he kept trying. I almost died of suffocation. Aha. So that's it. Only then did I realize Belle had been holding him out of good intentions. He just shouldn't have done it so violently. I'll get rid of it for you. By the way, he was a villain. I pointed at the spot where Belle had been. Oh, I see. Thank you, but that won't be possible. The shackle can't be destroyed by normal means. You have to kill Krakoon and get his key. Kedrick was devoted to his role as an NPC.
I checked the quest he gave me. Kedrick's Quest. Subquest. Rescue. Rank. High Intermediate. Goal. Infiltrate the office at the end of the Valley of Darkness and kill Krakoon or steal his keys and escape. I don't need to. I shook my head. With Boss like this, I didn't intend to continue the quest. I didn't need to, either. Show me your neck. Eh? No, I mean, this isn't necessary. It's fine. I took out the Mystic Key from my inventory. I'd chosen the Mystic Key for situations like this, to save time. Quests were more fun when you broke the process in creative ways. What's that? Kedrick's eyes widened and he tilted his head in a cute way. It didn't suit a bearded, muscular man. A key. I answered lightly and pressed the key to Kedrick's neck. Kedrick looked surprised, but the Mystic Key slipped into the shackle. There wasn't even a keyhole. It was like dipping the key into water. Click. The key stopped at a certain point. I turned it 180 degrees.
Click. The restraint fell to the ground. Huh? But how? There was no time to enjoy his surprise. We'd made quite a scene just now. The demons in charge of this valley would soon come rushing. We have no time. Is there anyone else with you? Oh, right, my wife. She's also locked up here. Kedrick started running. I carried Boss on my back and followed him. LV3, English Royal Court Guild. This is our guild hideout. Click. Rachel turned on the light. Though not glamorous, the well-managed hideout looked like a private home. There's something called the hideout system in Prestige. If you stay in the hideout for a set time, you get boosted stat increases and various buffs. The level of the buffs depends on the hideout's level. Kim Soo-ho, Jin Se-yeon, the Furman siblings, and Yi Young-han followed Rachel as she explained. Our Royal Court Guild hideout is probably one of the 5 best in Prestige. Rachel bragged quietly, scanning for their reactions. Kim Soo-ho and the others looked around with interest. She shrugged with pride. It's a good hideout. But how do we get to the upper level? Jin Se-yeon asked. As expected, her goal was climbing the tower. To reach the 4th floor, you first have to build performance points. Destroying the demons' control towers help them find crystal stellas leading to the 4th floor, but to enter, players need performance points. Players just had to clear a few common quests, so it wasn't hard to meet the requirements. Performance points. They're given every time you clear a common quest. You should have gotten a system alert with a list of common quests when you bought your citizenship. Oh, those. So we just have to kill monsters? Sounds fun. Jin Se-yeon nodded enthusiastically. Rachel watched her childhood hero. She'd heard how Kim Soo-ho and Jin Se-yeon met on the way. It wasn't dramatic, they just happened to be on the same elevator Kim Soo-ho found. Oh, and sometimes the administrator Medea gives out quests. You should definitely clear those. The rewards are good. Uh-huh. Kim Soo-ho, listening to Rachel, asked Jin Se-yeon. So, what will you do now, senior? Oh, me? Jin Se-yeon grinned. First, I'll meet up with the people from the association. Yangji and Jun-hak are here too. High-rank heroes from the Heroes Association, Sa Yangji and Oh Jun-hak. Jin Se-yeon had added them as friends as soon as she got on the elevator to the 2nd floor. From them, she heard something interesting. I want to hear more about this Black Lotus, too. Jin Se-yeon muttered with a serious face, one Rachel hadn't seen before. Then I'll leave now. Rachel subconsciously grabbed Jin Se-yeon, who was about to leave. Jin Se-yeon smiled and tilted her head. She was asking why Rachel stopped her, but Rachel had nothing in mind, so she just said, I saw you, on TV. I watched you do volunteer work. Oh, that? I'm a bit different from how I appear on TV, huh? Half is just pretending, and the other half, I'm a little shy in front of cameras. Huh. He laughed and bowed. Anyway, I'll be leaving now. Yes, it was nice to meet you. Rachel thought as she watched Jin Se-yeon. They'd only met for half an hour. Please come back anytime. I can offer you a place to stay. Those words are enough, Vice Leader Rachel. There was no other master rank hero in the world who would use polite speech to a junior. Rachel was touched again by Jin Se-yeon's courteous farewell. A lot happened, but we successfully rescued Kedrick and Lirko. The rewards were the mysterious pocket, Kedrick's ghost sword, and a treasure chest Kedrick had hidden from Krakoon. Together we arrived at the 3rd floor, Prestige. They were originally Prestige residents before being kidnapped by demons, so this was their first time home in a long time. We're back again. Right. But they didn't seem happy. Kedrick glanced at me and explained why. You see, our relationship is a bit complicated. I was a blacksmith for the government, and Lirko was captain of the inner city's vigilante group. We weren't allowed to even look at each other. I see. This was the NPC's past I hadn't set. Love beyond status and money, a classic romance. But you don't have to worry about that anymore. What? Kedrick and Lirko tilted their heads. Prestige has changed a lot since then. Only 3 months had passed since I first arrived in Prestige, but that was enough to change the city greatly. A lot had changed. First, I succeeded in cultivating LV3 amazing meat-flavored corn and LV2 clear and clean rice. I handed them out to NPCs for free or at a very low price. Second, a commercial district rose up around Riri Shop. To appear more high class, Riri Shop didn't handle low-priced items, so players had to sell their drops to resident NPCs. Riri Shop repurchased these items from NPCs and made potions from them. The result of this cycle was clear. Huh? Kedrick and Lirko stared blankly at Prestige. It was a different city than they remembered. Residents worked as street vendors, mothers returned home with corn, fathers headed to farms or mines, and players walked everywhere. Many things had changed in Prestige. For the record, at least a quarter of the land was mine. I invested in land every time I earned money. It changed a lot, right? I smiled and asked. Kedrick was still stunned, so Lirko answered instead. Yes, you're right. I think we could live happily without going inside the walls. Lirko looked at Kedrick, but he was too busy looking around. She pinched his side lightly. Kedrick's face crumpled. Gwah! Maybe it wasn't that light. Well then, follow me. To pay you back for what I've received, I'll let you stay here for free. For free? I brought the astonished Kedrick and Lirko to the house I'd prepared. The first floor would be Kedrick's workshop, and the second floor their home. By the way, aren't you uncomfortable? On the way, Lirko asked, glancing at Boss on my back.
Don't worry, she's really light. Oh, was she asleep or unconscious? Anyway, with Boss on my back, I walked on. We're here. After about 10 minutes, we arrived at the house-cum-workshop. Lirko and Kedrick looked around in surprise. It's a blacksmith's workshop. Yes, I'm also good at making things. Only the first floor is the workshop. The second floor is a regular home. I made this place to use dwarf's dexterity. I just hadn't had the chance yet. For now, stay here. We'll talk more later. There's a kid called Kiri. I'll send her over. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for helping us. No, don't mention it. I've already been compensated. Their sincere gratitude made me feel a bit awkward. In any case, after settling them in, I returned to the hideout. It was hard walking with Boss on my back. She was surprisingly voluptuous. Chirp, chirp. Spartan rushed to me as soon as I opened the door. I headed to the bedroom with Spartan and laid Boss on the bed. My back. What? I was startled. I wasn't sure when she woke up, but she was awake. Ugh, geez. Boss, when did you wake up? About 5 minutes ago. Was I that heavy? Boss asked. No, you were light. I smiled and covered her with a blanket. Boss snorted in disbelief. You just said I was heavy. Rather than that, I have a lot to ask you. You went on quite a rampage today. Our plan almost failed. Boss only moved her eyes to look at me. She seemed embarrassed and sorry. But I have a feeling you won't tell me even if I ask, so for now I'll let you rest.
Leaving the demon realm for another time, I stood up. Click. I turned off the light and was about to leave the room. Hajin, Boss called me. I looked back at the bed. Boss, lying straight, muttered, I can't move my body. What? I rushed to her. Was it magic power exhaustion? She was just blinking, staring at the ceiling. Is it magic power exhaustion? Yeah, I can't move at all. At that moment, suddenly, a thunderous sound came from Boss's stomach. We stared at each other for a moment. After staying still for about 5 minutes, Are you hungry? I asked first. Yes, she answered, looking embarrassed, and added softly, Sorry.
Chapter 187. Fresh carrots, beef, rice, and water. Using the best ingredients, I made a porridge. As the pot boiled, I checked its item description. Level 3. Porridge filled with Kim Ha-jin's care. Level 1 recovery. Level 2 satiety. Level 3 taste. This should be enough. Boss was lying down, her eyes buzzily moving. She was probably reading a novel or browsing the community. Your food is here. Boss sat up as I brought the tray to her bed. She blinked at me, her eyes wide. I had never even fed Evandel before. Silently, I scooped up a spoonful of porridge and brought it to her mouth. Boss seemed embarrassed, opening her mouth only slightly. I put the spoon in. Numb. She chewed a couple of times and swallowed. I picked up another spoonful. Boss opened her mouth and took the porridge from the spoon. After repeating this nutrient consumption for survival a few times, Boss suddenly muttered, This doesn't happen normally. What do you mean? Losing my temper. She seemed embarrassed about what happened today. I spoke nonchalantly, Is that so? I just didn't expect to encounter him. It was because I wasn't prepared at all that I pushed another spoonful of porridge into her mouth, cutting her off. Don't feed me when I'm talking. I don't have much time. You should eat quickly. There was a mountain of things to do today. I had to open the treasure box, decide how to use Kedrick's ghost sword and the mysterious pocket, and introduce Kedrick to Henry and Kiri. Boss furrowed her brows in displeasure, then went back to eating. I will be calmer the next time I see him. I only snapped this time because Seeing she was making another excuse, I stuffed her mouth with more porridge. She must not have expected it, as some got on her lips. Boss glared at me with narrowed eyes. So, who is he? I asked about Bell, pretending to know him. Boss flinched, then looked away. Weren't you sulking last time because I kept secrets from you? When did I sulk? Boss pouted, her mouth wriggling as she thought. Then she sighed. I listened closely. It was a good sign. Boss looked back at me and whispered softly, He is the previous black seat. Eh? I was genuinely surprised. I stared at Boss in a daze for about 5 seconds before recovering. Technically, this was an empty hole in the plot. The black seat I currently possessed originally belonged to Shin Jonghak, but I had never written about its past owner. He is also a traitor who betrayed the previous boss and murdered him. Boss continued, explaining a setting I didn't know. Chameleon Troop's ex-boss. I hadn't written anything about that either, but since the Chameleon Troop had a long history, it made sense that there were previous bosses. I scooped up another spoonful as I listened carefully. Boss glanced at my hand. It's already been 10 years, but I haven't forgotten his face for a single day. Numb. When I held the spoon up, she bit down on it. After chewing, she announced with determination, I'm going to kill him. I will eliminate the traitor. I understand what you're saying, but you can't do what you did today. Boss nodded. So, what will happen to him next? He died, so he should revive on the 3rd floor in 48 hours.
I didn't know exactly how many lives he lost, but he should have lost at least 2. I see. Boss stared at me with a smile. Thank you for killing him. I smiled back. Without Boss, I wouldn't have been able to kill him either. If Boss hadn't acted as both the frontline tank and damage dealer, Belb would have easily closed the distance. I didn't know how much of his abilities he had recovered, but there was a chance I could have been killed. You too, Boss. At that moment, the door opened. I'm back. Jane's voice rang out. Perfect timing. I put the bowl of porridge back on the tray and left Boss's room. Jane was taking off her shoes, beaming. Oh, that was so fun! Oh, Hajin, when did you come back? It's been a while. Rather than that, can you feed Boss? Eh? Jane tilted her head at the unexpected request. Feed her? Me? Yes, she's in her bedroom. Why? You'll see once you go in. Boss went wild and fell into magic power exhaustion. A displeased harumph came from the slightly open door. When I glanced back, Boss was glaring at me with a clear, "Don't leave it to Jane" look. Of course, I ignored it. I see. Jane's confusion quickly turned to mischief. Okay, I'll do it. With a lewd and wicked smile, she hopped into Boss's room. Boss flinched at the sight of Jane. Boss, I heard you couldn't move. Let's close the door first. As the door slowly closed, I saw Boss's pitiful eyes pleading for rescue. Unfortunately, I had other things to do. Jane, I'm already full. Are you sure? Can you not move your tongue because of magic power exhaustion? Should I feed you mouth to mouth? No. I can move well. See? Ignoring the shouting from Boss's bedroom, I returned to my room. I took out the treasure chest Kedrick gifted. Level 6 treasure chest. Krakoon's treasure chest. It seems to contain various items, but a key is needed to open it. The treasure chest Kedrick hid out of defiance to Krakoon. Since it was a level 6 chest, it was sure to contain good items. Unfortunately, I couldn't open it with my mystic key. I had already tried, but the key's decryption level was too low. Is the key too low level? It was a problem easily solved with SP. I could probably take any piece of paper and use setting intervention to rewrite its description as item experience coupon, then use it to level up any item I wanted. But that was too wasteful. I only needed 700 more SP to make my desired gift. Auction house. To see if there was an alternative, I went into the auction house and typed the keywords item and experience. Searching listings with the keywords item and experience. 1-3 items were detected. Item experience plus 2-3 x3. Item experience plus 1-7 x2. Item experience plus 1-1 x7. They were there. The highest bid was 50 TP, which was very cheap. Even the instant purchase price was only 300 to 400 TP. I was confused at first, but soon understood. These coupons could only be used on evolving items. Without them, they were no different than a piece of paper. It was another benefit of having more information about the tower. I immediately clicked the Instant Purchase button. You purchased item experience plus 2-3 x3. You purchased item experience plus 1-7 x2. You purchased item experience plus 1-1 x7. The coupons were sent to my inventory. I immediately used them on the Mystic Key and the Orb of Regeneration. Orb of Regeneration, magic artifact. An orb with the power of regeneration. Evolving item EXP 11/200. Level 2 unknown. Mystic Key, magic artifact. A mystical key. Evolving item EXP 9/200. Level 3 unlocking. The item's effects leveled up. Is level 3 unlocking good enough? I held the mystic key and muttered softly, "Scan." The number engraved was 27%. Jackpot. I put the key into the treasure chest's keyhole. Unlike before, when the key wouldn't even fit, it slid in easily this time. Click.
A clicking noise rang out. Was it working? I turned the key to the right. Keek! A heavy metallic sound rang out, and the treasure chest unlocked. I opened the lid with high expectations. Brilliant light burst out. Ho ho! I muttered in astonishment. As expected of an administrator, he was hoarding many shiny items. Level 4 blue diamond. Level 5 pure dark ore ingot times 3. Level 3 skill consolation ticket. Level 3 item consolation ticket. Level 1 basic skill acquisition book, tempering and smelting. Level 4 red sapphire. The most eye-catching item was undoubtedly the level 5 pure dark ingot. It was the first time I'd seen a level 5 ore. Should I use it to make arrows? That was my first thought. Of course, making arrows with such valuable ore could only be considered insane. After all, arrows could only be used once. But that changed depending on the person. Like the saying goes, time is more valuable to a rich person than money. I was exactly that kind of person. By making proper arrows with these ores, I would have a powerful weapon besides my gun. That was important since I couldn't use my gun when working as a member of the chameleon troupe. Suddenly, a light bulb went off in my head. I thought of a way to make arrows reusable. I looked at my smartwatch, then back at the dark ore ingots. If this worked, I wouldn't need many arrows. In fact, I could use synthesis to compress and strengthen them together. With this method, the arrow only needed to be powerful and durable. I fiddled with the smartwatch with one hand as I gathered Stigma's magic power with the other. Next day, I returned to the 5th floor's Valley of Darkness. Although I was alone, I wasn't worried since I was loaded with all sorts of items. This time, I walked up to the highest point possible, the mountain peak that protruded on both sides of the valley. So 2 of them escaped? Yeah, Boss went wild because of it. I looked down on the dark valley below and saw demons talking about yesterday's incident. Human NPCs were doing hard labor under their watch. The security was tighter due to yesterday's incident, but it didn't matter. I knocked 5 arrows on my bow. Both the arrow tip and shaft were black. Black had unintentionally become my symbolic color. I aimed the arrows downward and fired. Twack! The arrows flew out, moving independently. The first arrow curved left, the second flew straight, the third curved right. All 5 pierced the necks of demons. The valley immediately fell silent. Seeing their bodies scatter into dust, I muttered a keyword. Return! The 5 level 7 dark ore arrows I shot suddenly flew up. They retraced their paths and returned to my hand. Perfect. Reusable arrows. It was easy once I thought about it. I added a setting to the 5 level 7 dark ore arrows I created. Level 0 remote control. Because I made it level 0 to save SP, for now I could only use it to retrieve the arrows. But once I leveled up the effect, I should be able to control them with my will. Now, there were 11 prison camps left. Now that I confirmed the arrow's effectiveness, I moved swiftly and lightly like a ninja. The dark ore arrows didn't leave behind any evidence. They flew silently like an owl hunting at night and delivered eternal darkness to their targets. This wasn't an exaggeration. The moment I fired the arrows, they transformed into invisible darkness to kill their targets. Using this method, I killed all the demons guarding the 11 prison camps. Now Krakoon was the only one left. I began to make my way to his office. Ta-da! Suddenly, I felt a fierce gaze on me. 2 piercing eyes glared at me with killing intent. I turned toward the gaze. There, I saw a man wearing glasses. His skin was blue, and he had a horn protruding from his head. I immediately knew who he was. Level 8, Administrator of the Valley of Darkness, Krakoon. Krakoon. Who are you? Krakoon asked me. I couldn't hear him well because he was too far away, but I answered anyway. That's none of your business. Krakoon snickered, clearly looking down on the human race. You must be the one who attacked us yesterday. Regardless, you won't be able to escape. Do you think I didn't make any preparations? In an instant, a huge tremor of magic power erupted. Hundreds of soldiers will gather here soon. A purple magic power appeared on the ground. It was a large-scale spell requiring a magic circle, mass teleport. Your punishment shall be death by dismemberment. No, I will make it so that you wish you were dead. Krakoon's confident laughter echoed through the valley.
However, I remained silent and took out the Mystic Key. It was still strengthened by 27%. To temporarily boost its strength even further, I infused Stigma's magic power into it. Then I stabbed the key into the ground. "Hey, Kraken!" "It's Krakoon, not Kraken. If you want to surrender, tell me where Kedrick and Lurko are. If you do, I will generously allow you to die." "No, I turned the key and spoke calmly. "Have a nice day." Magic flashed from the key and seeped into the dirt. Immediately, the mountain began to rumble. Using this mysterious key, I had just unlocked something that was holding the mountain together. The result was a landslide. Since the valley was right underneath the mountain, it was obvious what would happen. Since I focused the landslide in Krakoon's direction, the human NPCs should survive. What is... Like a third-grade villain, he muttered a boring line. Dirt began to slide down, and the mass teleport spell disappeared without ever activating. I sighed and turned to the side. As though I was a movie star, my eyes met someone else's. Well, to say our eyes met, we were too far apart. Without the 1,000-mile eyes, she would have looked like a tiny speck of dust. Did our eyes really meet? Or was it a coincidence? I narrowed my eyes at the thought, then pulled my hood down a bit more. Standing over yonder was one of the strongest characters I created. Jin Seon, the Divine Archer. For some reason, she was with Che Na-yoon. However, that wasn't important at the moment. Jin Seon was staring at me with her divine archer eyes. There was no shaking in her look, nor a hint of doubt. She was staring at me fixedly. Jin Seon was staring into the distance. Without the supernatural eyesight provided by her gift, Divine Archer, it would have been too far to see even for her. For 10 minutes, she had been watching that person's actions. Finally, she smiled at the man who just met her eyes. Senior, did you feel that tremor?" Jin Seon was distracted for a split second by the innocent voice beside her. It was Che Na-yoon, curious about the sound of the landslide. "A landslide just happened," Jin Seon answered, then looked back. The man who had been standing at the mountain peak was already gone. "A landslide?" Che Na-yoon asked. Jin Seon nodded, but hid one truth, that the landslide was purposely caused by one person. Even if she told the truth, there was a chance no one would believe her. Unless a mountain was extremely unstable, an artificial landslide could only be caused by 5-star magicians specialized in that field. An archer able to cause a landslide? In the Tower of Wish, where everyone's abilities were restricted? If Jin Seon hadn't witnessed the strange flow of the man's magic power, she wouldn't have believed it either. "Yes, a landslide far away from here buried an entire valley. Senior, you don't have to talk so politely. Feel free to use casual speech." "How could I, to Chairman's granddaughter? I am more comfortable speaking like this." Jin Seon firmly refused Che Na-yoon's request. Although Jin Seon's polite speech made Che Na-yoon uncomfortable, Che Na-yoon was still a little happy inside. "Do you know Grandpa?" You could say that. Though it's not a good relationship." Jin Seon swallowed her next sentence and smiled. "In any case, that's why I met up with Na-yoon-shi." "Ha! I see. In that case, what do you think about my grandfather, Hero Shin Myung-chol?" Shin Jong-hak, who had been walking on eggshells around Jin Seon, finally worked up the courage to ask. Even Shin Jong-hak couldn't act arrogantly in front of a master-rank hero. As if to prove her status, Jin Seon had even caught up to their strength in just 4 days. "It is an amazing person. I have heard many good things about him." "Ha ha ha ha!" Shin Jong-hak, his expression brightened. He let out a dry cough and tightened his grip on his spear. Jin Seon spoke. "Rather than that..." She had already heard everything from her comrades Sao Young-ji and Oh Jun-hayak. Many people were pitting her against Black Lotus for the title of the strongest archer. As Jin Seon had been losing her motivation, this new opponent was a welcome one. She had never slept since entering the third floor. In other words, she had remained awake for 72 hours, focusing on improving herself and acquiring skills. The effort she put into improving herself made her feel like she had returned to her younger days. "Let's move. I see a demon camp nearby." Jin Se-on looked back at the direction where the mysterious archer stood. It was extremely likely that he was Black Lotus. The landslide had ended, and there was no one on the silent mountain peak. Where was he all this time? After staring at the empty mountain peak for a long time, Jin Se-on finally looked away with a happy smile.
Chapter 188. Level 11. Medea's Palace. In the heart of Prestige stood a lofty palace, the city's symbol. Gothic spires and stained glass gave it an antique charm, while mana crystals embedded in the ceilings and walls shone even in Prestige's eternal darkness. This mystical palace, built and sustained solely by magic, was the sovereign domain of the abandoned princess, Medea. The palace's halls formed the maze, only accessible with Medea's permission, and its walls were armed with magic cannons capable of shooting down any enemy. Medea even added 8 legs to the palace, allowing her to escape with it if necessary, a testament to how much she cherished it. Currently, Medea sat surrounded by her loyal servants, gazing at a table filled with delicacies from the tower's upper floors. Despite the luxury, she was in a foul mood. One thing was bothering her. She recalled the event from 4 days ago. The robe worn by the first-ranked man, who introduced himself as Buyang, caught her attention. Its surface was soft, like flowing water, and its beautiful engravings exuded a fate aura. It was a flow of magic power and artistry visible only to those with the aesthetic eye. Medea could see the natural aura radiating from his robe as if it had always been there since its creation. Who could have made such a robe? Medea was simply curious. To her knowledge, no one in Prestige possessed such skill. If there were, she would have brought them to the palace long ago. Such craftsmanship couldn't be found outside the 3rd floor. A civilization capable of producing such luxury would be on a much higher floor than Prestige. Could it be? She briefly considered Hephaestus, who she was rumored to be hiding somewhere, but she quickly dismissed the thought. That ignorant man couldn't make something so delicate. It was his fault that dwarves, who had more dexterity than elves, avoided cloth and weaving, focusing only on gold and iron. She cleared her throat, and for a while, everything in Prestige seemed pitiful to Medea. She was curious about the robe, but that was all. It wasn't something she desperately wanted. Only items like the Blue Wave and the Song of Sorrow could truly hold her attention. Rayleigh. Medea stopped thinking about the robe and called for her old butler, who had served her a long time. Suddenly, a part of the room trembled, and the butler appeared out of nowhere. A simple teleportation that worked only inside the palace. "Your Highness." "Yes, Your Highness." "When is the next administrator conference?" The tower's administrators, each in charge of a floor or subfloor, held frequent meetings. Some were apathetic, some helped players, and some tried to hinder them. Medea was the self-indulgent, apathetic type. She didn't care who died. She only wanted to gather performance points and TP to manifest herself in the phenomenon realm. Being stuck in the tower forever would be unbearably boring and sad. The meeting is scheduled 10 days from now. Is that so? Medea smiled oddly and licked her lips. Then let's get one more thing done before then. There was still one task left. Although it was difficult and impertinent, she knew she wouldn't bear the burden herself. Isn't it about time that Prestige gets a son? Medea's enchanting voice filled the spacious palace. Level 6, Strange Valley of Darkness. I entered the valley to escape Jin Se-on's sight. It should be around here somewhere. I finally found Krakoon's vault using my 1,000-mile eyes. It was a tightly sealed cubic safe. I opened it easily with the mystic key. Inside were only documents, land deeds, and slave contracts. Magic land document. a land document made from magic power. Upon the death of the original owner, ownership can be transferred to another person. Magic slave contract. Slave contract made from magic power. Upon the death of the original owner, ownership can be transferred to another person. First, I infused my magic power into the land document. The owner of Valley of Darkness has been changed to the player Extra 7. Currently, there are about 480 kilograms of dark ore buried within Valley of Darkness. Oh, so there was something like this. But even as the landowner, how was I supposed to dig up all this dark ore? Tip: Level 1 Player Shop sells an automatic miner for 800 TP. Ah, thank you. There was a lot I didn't know. I bought an automatic miner from the player shop. It looked like a drone. Level 1 Automatic Miner. A cute machine that searches for ores buried in a mine and automatically digs them out. Level 1 Ore Mining. Digs up to 1 kilogram of ores per hour. Level 1 Ore Searching. I bought 3 automatic miners and released them, then searched the Valley of Darkness for enslaved human NPCs. Ah! Who are you? The sudden incident startled them. I approached gently so they wouldn't be frightened, asked for their hometowns, and released the shackles around their necks. There were 16 in total, all former Prestige residents. I tore up their slave contracts, collected the ores they had dug, and sent them back to Prestige. I also messaged Henry and Kiri, asking them to introduce the freed slaves to Kedrick. Since Kedrick had suffered with them, he would likely take care of them. Thank you, thank you. I won't forget your kindness. We stood in front of the crystal stele that allowed travel between the 3rd and 4th floors. As the 16 NPCs shed tears, a system window popped up. You defeated Krakoon, the administrator of the Valley of Darkness, and rescued the NPCs. Subquest: The wishes of the NPCs at the prison camp, murder of the Valley executive. Your entire stats increase by 0.3. All stats by 0.3. I nodded in satisfaction and wondered what to do next. I didn't want to act hastily with Jin Seon nearby. Should I check out the 5th floor for a bit? With my master sharpshooter gift, scouting was easy. I climbed a mountain, focused Stigma's magic power in my eyes, and surveyed the land. Among the many players struggling on the 5th floor, I studied the Alliance team moving together. About 50 people were busy discussing a castle attack. The 2 top guilds, Essence of the Strait and Frost Sanctuary, were preparing to attack Level 7 Demon's Castle No. 1 with the English Royal Court. Inside the No. 1 castle are about 150 demons and 800 undead. Those were Rachel's words. She looked delighted to be with the upper guilds and couldn't hide her excitement. Are you sure? Kim Young-jin, Essence of the Strait's team leader, asked. Yes, my wind elemental personally investigated the area. Rachel nodded with a needlessly solemn expression. Kim Young-jin smiled. An elementalist has great tactical value for sure. No, I'm still just a beginner. Rachel seemed happy at Kim Young-jin's praise, but kept a humble attitude. She was probably jumping with joy inside. There are only 50 of us. Maybe the difference is too much. What do you think about asking Eileen Neem for help?
Kim Young-jin's concerns were answered by Young Ho-soon, Frost Sanctuary's team leader. Eileen? Hearing this, I wondered where Eileen was. I searched for her. She was easy to spot. After all, she was the only white-haired shorty in the world. Young-ha, I have 1030 TP on me right now. Remember that. Huh? Why are you telling me that? Eileen and Yi Young-ha were surrounded by at least 100 undead and 5 demons. Well, I just thought we should check them beforehand. I can't lose them again. Even with so many enemies, Eileen's only concern was her TP. She was probably thinking about the TP Jane had stolen from her by mistake. Okay, 1030 TP. I'll remember that. Good. Eileen nodded and looked ahead. Not daunted by the undead and demons, she smiled. Hey kids, hail is falling from the sky right now. The demons were confused. The sky above was as dark as ever, with no sign of precipitation. But to them, her words were a death sentence. You see, those hailstones, will split your heads." Anything a spirit speech master said became true. Hailstones filled with magic power poured from the sky. Kukwang-wang-wang-wang! It was hard to tell if it was hail or a meteor shower. The enormous magic wiped out the demons. Their armor was crushed by the ice, and the undead skin and flesh cracked and shattered before they could take a step. I scratched the back of my neck as I watched the massacre. For the past month, I was Lu Bu, or the hegemon king Shang Yu. Was that all just a midsummer night's dream? Phew. I should try harder from now on. Now that I could get more dark ore, I shouldn't lose to them. Every time I obtained dark ore, I could use synthesis to compress it into my arrows. That was it for my surveillance. I took out the dwarven supercar for my inventory and returned to Prestige. Level 5, Chameleon Troop's Hideout. I'm back. Is that you, Hajin? As soon as I stepped inside, I heard Boss's voice from the bedroom. I smiled and headed to her room. Boss was lying on the bed with my orb of regeneration in one hand, patting Spartan with the other. "How do you feel?" "Much better. I think I'll recover by tomorrow. This orb is effective." "That's good to hear." I sat next to Boss's bed and made a comb out of Stigma's magic power. I brushed Boss's messy hair and began thinking. Chameleon Troop was my creation. I hadn't written much about it in the settings book. Everything was just in my head. I left it blank on purpose, planning to fill it with more attractive settings. But that was pointless, since I stopped writing the novel before Chameleon Troop and Kim Soo-ho became equals. That should have happened 2 or 3 years later. I regretted it. Now there were too many things I didn't know. Jin Sayuk's relationship with Belle, Belle's relationship with Boss, Boss's relationship with the former boss. If I'd known this would happen, I would have written more. That was probably why I was a failed writer. Kim Ha-jin, the pitiful writer who couldn't even finish his own novel. A low humming came from under my hand. I glanced down and saw Boss enjoying my combing with her eyes closed. I looked at her calmly. There was only one way to know what I didn't know. I had to ask Boss directly. "Hey, Boss." "Oh, looks like Hajin is here." A noise came from the entrance. I tilted my head and stood up. "Wait just a moment." I stopped brushing her hair and stepped outside. At the entrance were Jane and another person. "When did you get back, Hajin?" "Right, so this time we've got 2 more members in the tower. You know him, right?" Jane spoke first. The gentle-looking man next to her smiled at me. "Hey, newbie." It was Jin Yohan, the seat of green. I smiled back. "Yes, hello." I sounded composed, but my mouth twitched with tension. Chameleon Troop's vital members were starting to gather. Silver should be the next color to arrive, which meant there wasn't much time left until we met Kim Soo-ho. I'm exhausted. Meanwhile, Kim Soo-ho had returned to Level 1 Creator's Sacred Grace hideout after grinding his stats and skills on the 4th floor. Today, he had more guests than usual. Cha Na-eun and Shin Jung-hak had followed him back, making the small 55-square-meter hideout crowded. "You didn't have to follow me all the way back. Anyway, come in." Soo-ho scratched his neck as he let them in. "What a tiny place." Shin Jung-hak sneered, but he was clearly different from before. Though still a little rude, he wasn't as overbearing as in the past. Had he grown up? Soo-ho grinned and nudged Shin Jung-hak's shoulder like a close friend. "Are you crazy? Did you just shove me?" Shin Jung-hak immediately turned serious. Startled, Soo-ho let out a dry cough. "Stop being so noisy. Here, it's a housewarming gift." At that moment, Cha Na-eun handed Soo-ho a bundle of potions. "Oh, what's this?" "A potion set from Riri's shop. It's worth 1,000 TP, so you better be thankful." 1,000 TP? Wow, thanks. Call me if you ever need help. I'll be there right away. Soo-ho took the potions gratefully. Seeing his childlike excitement, Cha Na-eun smiled. Take a seat, everyone. I'll make dinner. The mess of furmen went into the kitchen, and the rest sat near the kitchen table. Hey, doesn't this remind you of the good old days? Yi Young-han started chatting as soon as he sat down, reminiscing about the past. Looking around at the familiar faces, he spoke. We're only missing those two, Yu Young-ha and Kim Hu. Before Yi Young-han could finish, Suho pinched his side. But it was too late. Chanaeun's expression turned sour, and Suho glared at Yi Young-ha. Ooh, my side! Yi Young-han was too busy enduring the pain to notice anything else. Suho quickly changed the subject. So, Naeun, how have you been? I heard you got inflicted with a curse. Oh, that? How did you know? I guess rumors travel fast. Chanaeun didn't want to dwell on it, so she smiled bitterly and brushed off what Yi Young-han said. I heard from Yi Ji-yun. Yi Ji-yun? That girl is too light-mouthed. Chanaeun sighed. She reaffirmed her belief that Yi Ji-yun should not be told any secrets. Now everyone knew about her embarrassing curse. It's fine now. Someone I know treated me. Oh, who? Yi Young-han asked. I'm not going to tell you, but he's really famous in the tower. Chanaeun made a smug face. Because of her background, she knew many people, but only trusted a few. With this incident, Extra 7 had become someone she could really trust. His status had risen at least 2 levels in her heart. What's his nickname? Extra 7. The player who made a name for himself in the tutorial, Extra 7. His achievement was still legendary in the community. Oh, that's the person who made 20,000 TP in the tutorial. Chanaeun's eyes widened at Yi Young-han's words. Eh? You knew? How?
He got famous outside the tower, too. You don't know what's going on outside, right? The world is only talking about the Tower of Wish. I'm not even exaggerating. Every news station is reporting on the internal structure of the tower and analyzing the tutorial, 2nd floor, 3rd floor, and so on. Oh, interesting. Then keep it a secret that I know him. You guys aren't like Yu Ji-yoon, right? Chanaeun asked the others to keep their relationship with Extra 7 a secret, in case it would bother him. Sure, but how do you know Extra 7? Hearing Kim Suho's question, Chanaeun replied with a confident smile. I've known him for a long time. I first met him when I was a cadet. Although she had never met him in person, she had interacted with him like a normal friend. Back then, they played a match together almost every day. Oh-ho! Hey, can you ask him to lend me some money? There's an item I want to buy. Yi Young-han grinned. Shut up! Chanaeun looked at him with disgust. At that moment, system windows suddenly popped up around them. Hello, everyone. This is Medea. Whoa! Startled, Yi Young-han jumped out of his seat and fell backwards. This was his first time encountering Medea's quest. Be quiet. This is really important. Chanaeun, on the other hand, quickly focused. Last time, she missed Medea's quest because she was sick. This time, she was determined to do well and rank in the top 100. I hope you're having a nice day, players. I believe you know what I will say. Medea's breathtaking beauty quickly drew Yi Young-han's attention, even though he had just run away from her. It is time for another quest. Medea gave a dazzling smile. The name of the quest is Sunlight. This is a very important quest. It was the kind of smile that felt unsettling because it was too perfect.
Chapter 189. Paris, France. Grand Duchess Ah-hae-in's residence. Unlike the gloomy prestige, the sky outside was clear and blue. Thank you once again. We will do our best not to disappoint you in your partnership with Essence of the Strait. Yu Yen-ha was successfully completing her contract with Ah-hae-in, the matriarch of the Ah family, and an 8-star magician on the verge of becoming 9-star. Ah-hae-in, seated across from Yu Yen-ha, gave a faint smile. I could say the same to you. I heard a rumor that my nephew is also in Essence of the Strait. Yu Yanha smiled in satisfaction at Ahein's remark. Yes, Baire Morenci is taking an active part in the guild. More than 4 years ago, Baire Moren had participated in the same archery competition as Kim Hajin at the Cube Festival. At the time, he lost to Kim Hajin even with Ahein's help. Now he was a member of Essence of the Strait. Then will my nephew enter the Tower of Wish this time? Yu Yanha couldn't give a definite answer. We are not so sure about that yet. The will of the individual is the most important thing when deciding to enter a tower, but if Morenci wants to, then I don't see why not. Ha ha! Don't you try so hard. I know my nephew's strength well. If he goes into the tower now, he'll only become prey to others. I want to see my nephew around for a long time. It's not like I expect him to become a great hero. Ahein gave a meaningful smile. But still, wouldn't my nephew's looks guarantee him success in the entertainment industry? That was what Yu Yanha wanted as well. She replied with an assuring smile. Of course. Good then. I look forward to working with you. The meeting was a success from beginning to end. Yu Yanha clenched her fists with joy. The news of Ahein joining hands with Essence of the Street would surprise their foes and encourage their friends. How would the public and their rivals react to the partnership? Yu Yanha couldn't help but look forward to it. Oh, by the way, what is that guy Fenrir up to nowadays? Suddenly, Ahein asked a rather strange question. Yu Yanha widened her eyes in surprise at the unexpected name. Were you interested in mercenaries as well? It's not that. He just left a deep impression on me. It's already been 4 years, yet I still remember him. Ah, you mean the archery competition, right? Yu Yanha recalled what happened 4 years ago. During Cube's class competitions, Kim Hajin had shown off a mystical curve shot against Baire Moren. With just one arrow, Kim Hajin gained many admirers and drew the attention of several guilds. Yes, to an old fellow like myself, it seems like a waste for a master archer like himself to be using guns. Still, he has broadened our horizons as the one and only gunner. He's already considered a godlike figure in the field. Is that so? Anyhow, I heard that Fenrir is on good terms with Essence of the Strait. Does that mean I'll get to meet him sooner or later? Currently, he's inside the tower, so I can't be absolutely certain, but surely he won't hesitate to meet Grand Duchess Ahein. Ha ha, really? Their friendly exchange continued. Yu Yanha laughed and talked, careful not to act frivolously or behave inappropriately as she closed the conversation. Then I'll take my leave now. What you look at the time. Farewell. Spending time with a young beauty has made me feel young as well. However, seeing that it's already late, you may stay the night if you'd like. The guest rooms are better than most 5-star hotels. Ahein offered kindly, clearly satisfied with today's meeting. I appreciate the offer, but how can I bear to stay here for just one night? This place is so beautiful, I'll be filled with regrets when I have to leave. Yu Yanha gracefully declined. Is that so? Well, you must be busy. Ahein understood. But in truth, this meeting was the last thing on Yu Yanha's schedule for today. Furthermore, tomorrow was a rest day, a special day Yu Yanha set aside for herself once every 6 months. Then rest well. I apologize for taking up so much of your time. No, it's nothing. Yu Yanha planned to return home right away. It wasn't that she disliked Ahein or her mansion. Ahein was a hospitable French lady who had learned Korean from historical K-dramas. And her mansion was much more impressive and cozier than her own place. The problem was sleeping. In particular, it was the bed. To be exact, it was the bed that Kim Hajin had given her. No, at this point, it was more like she couldn't sleep anywhere else. Before she realized it, the bed Kim Hajin had given her had become her most precious treasure. "I'll go home and sleep for the rest of the day." Yu Yanha left Ahayan's mansion and skipped happily toward her limousine. The limousine started smoothly and headed towards the portal station. Yu Yanha was looking out the car window in delight when she suddenly saw a scene she couldn't ignore. "Hold on, driver, slow down a bit." The limousine slowed, and Yu Yanha could see the two people walking down the street clearly. A tall woman and a child were holding hands. Both stood out from afar. The tall woman wore sunglasses, but anyone could tell she was Yun Sung Ah.
Evandel, isn't traveling abroad fun? Yeah, it's fun. I don't know why Haeyun doesn't like it. Yun Sung Ah must be in France for a vacation, but it was the child next to her that stood out. The child had blonde hair and an adorable eye smile that was easily noticeable, even from afar. Yu Yunha stared at the child with a serious look. I've seen her before. She had seen the child somewhere in the past. It must have been 3 or 4 years ago. She couldn't remember the exact date, but she was certain she had seen the child. She was confident in her memory. That girl was definitely with Kim Hajin. Back then, the two seemed to be heading somewhere hand in hand, just like Yun Sung Ah and the blonde child now. But why? Why is that girl with Yun Sung Ah? More than that, just who was she? Could it be... When her thoughts reached this point, her mind went blank. Ding! The sound of a bell rang inside her head. Ding! All the thoughts in her head were cleared out. Ding! Strange speculations filled the empty space. If that really was the case, did that child dye her hair blonde just so their relationship wouldn't be exposed? Yu Yunha leaned back against the seat. No. Such a natural color couldn't be made from a dye. Then it must surely be a coincidence. But wait a minute.
Suddenly, a certain thought crossed her mind. Resenting herself for being so smart, Yu Yanha quickly turned on her smartwatch and looked up a conversation log. "I'm a little short on money. Lend me some so I can buy a house. Selling my stock seems like a waste." "Huh? What house?" "Here. It's worth 20 billion won. I have 18 billion on me, so just lend me 2 billion. You'll need 2 billion more to cover taxes. Anyways, I'll wire you the money soon." Yu Yunha had lent Kim Ha-jin 4 billion won. She quickly looked up the registration certificate for Seicho apartment. The owner was Kim Ha-jin, but the building was already rented out. The name of the tenant was Yoon Ji-ho. He was Yun Sung Ah's brother and the CEO of an entertainment company. Things are getting stranger by the minute. Yu Yanha unknowingly put her hands on her head. No way. Despite denying it, Yu Yanha's hairs were starting to stand on end. It was an old habit that came out whenever she thought of something bizarre and impudent. Tower of Wish, 3F Prestige. The next day. I was currently observing the new member of Chameleon Troupe, the Silver Seat, Kaita. Kaita, who had just arrived, was chewing on a piece of gum as he watched Medea's quest. "In order to install an artificial sun in Prestige, we will need 100 kilograms of dark ore, 1,111 pyrogen grass roots, 1 shamrock plant, and the essence of the sun from the 5th floor's castle number 5. The sunlight quest was simple. You just had to gather the materials for an artificial sun and deliver them to Medea. But since the last ingredient could only be found by conquering a castle, there was a good chance a fight would break out. A quest. Hey, Archer, could I get anything good out of this? Kaita asked me. The more I looked at him, the more he resembled one of those skinheads from Russia. The reward will be announced in the video shortly. Really? Medea began to recite the rewards.
For the reward, you will be given 1,000 TP per kilogram of dark ore, 100 TP per pyrogen grassroot, and 3,000 TP plus a special gift for the shamrock plant. The team that brings me the essence of the sun will receive 10,000 TP and 5 very special rewards. I already had dark ore and a shamrock, but frankly, the price Medea was giving for the dark ore was too cheap. A fair price should be 2,000 TP per kg. In any case, this quest was one of the incidents where Kim Suho and the Chameleon Troupe collide. Kaita would team up with Zurahan, the representative of the Ordinary People Alliance, and act rashly before getting himself killed by Kim Suho. This leads to Kaita holding a grudge against Kim Suho. He then chases after Kim Suho in the real world, which eventually leads to his real death. I had no intention of stopping him. This guy was the most lunatic out of all the Chameleon Troupe members. He considered murder, mutilation, and other unspeakable hate crimes as his hobbies. He was a real villain, designed to drive Kim Suho into a storm of righteous indignation. If left alone, he would one day become a traitor and turn on Boss. If Kim Suho wouldn't kill him, I would have to do it myself. Hey, newbie, by the way, Jin Yohan was looking through the community. He suddenly spoke up. What is this castle attack that everyone is talking about? They're saying there is a castle attack today. I took a look at the post. At 6 p.m. today, we will begin the castle attack on castle number 1. Ordinary people should stay away from area 3 of the 5th floor. Oh, it's exactly what it sounds like. They're going to destroy a castle. Oh, really? These bugs sure are doing all kinds of weird things, huh? Kaita commented sarcastically as Boss came out of the bedroom, limping. As expected of Boss, it seemed she had already recovered most of her stamina. Boss, are you all better now? Boss, hi. Jin Yohan greeted Boss with a smile, but Kaita seemed visibly shaken by her appearance. Sure enough, this guy was afraid of Boss. Well, I would be scared too if I was beaten to the verge of death. Kaita, you're here too? Boss welcomed Kaita in a manner quite different from when she dealt with me. Even I was frightened by the way her eyes flickered coldly with magic power. You? No way. I'm telling you the truth. And plus, don't people revive if you kill them? Still, I didn't do anything. I watched Kaita protest for a while, then got up. Boss, I'm going out. Where are you going this time? She quickly took the threatening Enera back. To my shop. I probably won't return today. I have something to do. Is that so? She looked a bit sullen. I'll go now. I nodded and went outside. Through the door crack, Boss's eyes were fixed on me. I knew those eyes. They were eyes craving for food. Since there wasn't much time, I decided to ignore her eyes for today. I walked quickly and arrived at Kedrick's workshop. There were a lot of people inside. It seemed that most of the NPCs I saved back at the prison camp were here. Ah, it's Master! Ooh! Muscular men greeted me. I smiled bitterly and approached Kedrick. How are things? Good, very good. Rice is good, and so is the corn. Ha ha. That's a relief. Ah, and these. I took out a bunch of items in front of the plump Kedrick. Steel ingot, frozen tanium ore, building stone, and casted steel. I had bought out most of the miscellaneous ores that players put up on auction. Use these as materials. Also, I'd like to borrow the workshop for a while. Why, of course. You there, move these. Yay! I stood in front of the furnace as the NPCs vigorously carried around the ores. Sssss. I turned on the furnace with Stigma's magic power. Then I melted down the dark ore ingots and used Young Dwarf's dexterity and Stigma's magic power to make dark ore arrows. The whole process took 3 hours. I could have finished faster, but it took time for the ore to melt and cool. LV5 Dark Ore Arrow X15. Like that, I made 15 dark ore arrows. Ay, 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 you turned all those expensive ingots into arrows, an NPC said in a worried voice, but I just smiled. Using
LV3 synthesis, I fused the 15 LV5 dark ore arrows with 5 LV7 dark ore arrows. Warning: the item's high level reduces the chance of success. Synthesis success. Warning: the item's high level reduces the chance of success. Synthesis success. Warning: the item's high level reduces the chance of success. Synthesis success. The probability of success was so low that I only succeeded 12 out of 15 times, even with my absurd luck. Because of that, my dark ore arrows were still at level 7, but thankfully their destructive power and piercing power increased by a level. LV7 Dark Ore Arrow. Level 6 Destructive Power, Level 6 Piercing Power, Level 6 Dark Trajectory, Level 5 Magic Destruction, Level 1 Remote Control. All 5 had the same options.
Ah, Master. Henry and Kiri said that the shop needs more shelves, Kedrick said immediately after synthesis ended. Yeah, I already got the message. I have everything planned out. I planned to do a major renovation for the shop. I would hire more staff and divide the store into different sections, one for potions, another for weapons, another for armor. The shop would then continue to grow until it became a landmark of prestige. Young Dwarf's dexterity combined with Aether's eye of beauty should be enough for me to come up with an admirable design. Where will you go now? Kedrick asked as I got ready to leave. Huh? Oh. After a short pause, I simply said, I'm off to climb the tower. Tower of Wish. 5F Materialized Demon Realm. After upgrading my arrows, I went up to the 5th floor. Now that my weapons were ready, my goal today was to reach the 6th floor. How is that possible when I'm not even halfway done with the 5th floor, you ask? That's because there's a hidden path on this floor, just like in many other games. Let's see. I took out the Book of Truth. The question I wanted to ask was, where is the Fairy Lake? Fairy Lake. It was a pathway that Kim Soo-ho would use in the future, but the order didn't really matter. A reward was given to the first person to reach the 6th floor, but it wasn't anything great. It was fine if even Kim Soo-ho didn't have it. The Fairy Lake has been located. Soon, the location of the pond was marked with GPS on the Book of Truth. I drove the dwarven supercar in that direction as I glanced through the public forum. How's the castle attack going? Looks like they're still going at it. But why is the Royal Court Guild with Essence of the Strait and Frost Sanctuary? Are they the decoy? Their vice leader is an elementalist. Elementalists are extremely versatile and useful for attacking fortified strongholds. Oh, I see. Wouldn't one elementalist be better than 100 of you? What was that for? Want a PK? Everyone was talking about the first castle attack taking place right now. As I was driving, while reading, pzz, pzz, I saw mana surge into the sky not too far away. Come to think of it, castle number 1 was nearby. I stopped the dwarven supercar for a moment and looked around. The 1,000-mile eyes penetrated all obstacles and showed me what I wanted to see. Aim for the magicians above the wall. At a glance, the battle seemed to be a tough fight. I noticed 3 familiar faces, Rachel, from the Royal Court Guild, and Che Na-yun and Yi Ji-yoon from Essence of the Strait. Westgate! Attack the Westgate! Earth! Give me an earthquake! Fiery! Rachel, I need to go up the wall! I need your elemental's help! Both Rachel and Che Na-yun were performing exceptionally as an elementalist and a swordsman. However, the situation didn't look good. It was to be expected. There were very few magicians on the side of humans, yet many magicians on the side of demons. In fantasy novels, magicians were always most important during castle attacks. I thought for a moment. Maybe I can freeload a bit. The rewards for the castle attack were given out by the system, so it was possible to obtain them by helping out in secret. Plus, I couldn't ignore Rachel and Che Na-yun, who were struggling. I'll help them deal with the magicians just once. I climbed up a nearby tree. It was quite tall, so I could see the faraway castle clearly. I sat on a sturdy branch, took out my bow, and put 5 arrows on the bowstring. My targets were the ones casting magic spells with demon energy, 2 per arrow. I decided to kill just 10 magicians. Of course, since I was shooting from afar, the enemies should notice and put up defense magic. But mere 5th floor magicians shouldn't be able to stop level 7 Dark Ore arrows. On top of that, Dark Ore was specifically used to counteract magicians in the first place. There was about a kilometer between me and the castle. It's pretty far, but I fired the arrows without hesitation. Shwah! The arrows traveled in darkness. Their trajectories were invisible, but because they carried overwhelming wind pressure, the targets could easily detect their presence. They put up defense magic and barriers, but of course, their attempts were futile. After all, my arrows were level 7. Krk, krk. The arrows destroyed all magic and pierced right through the magicians' necks. The demons died instantly, without a sound. 5 out of the 13 magicians were dead. But then the arrows, which were supposed to ram into the ground after piercing through the demons, started to move again. They soared from the bottom to the top, drawing an impossible curve in their trajectories. Lights flashed from the corner of my eyes. The 5 arrows killed 5 more enemies. Only 10 demons died. However, they were magicians who accounted for a large part of the castle's strength. Consequently, the tide of the battle was soon overturned. The players on the battlefield were not interested in who shot the arrows. They couldn't afford to be interested. They were too focused on what was in front of them. Return. After collecting the arrows I fired, I got back in the dwarven supercar, then I drove away without looking back. About 30 minutes later, I arrived at the fairy pond, located in a very remote spot where most would only glance over. Despite its pretty name, the lake was full of mud and dirt. This was the hidden path. Although the lake seemed like it would be home to monsters, nothing lived inside, and the bottom of the lake contained a pathway to the 6th floor. A nasty smell filled the air. I needed to prepare myself mentally. I held my nose and took off all the armor I was wearing to prevent the smell from sticking to them. I did warm-up exercises just in case, took a deep breath 3 or 4 times, then, plop, I jumped into the lake. Ugh! I threw up as soon as I got in. The vomit clung to my face inside the water. Ugh! It was so disgusting that I threw up again. Kim Soo-ho's sincerity could purify this lake, but it seemed that was outside of my capabilities. I endured the filth for 5 minutes, shivering in repulsion. Suddenly, there was a twisting sensation, and the system message I had been waiting for popped up. You are the first to reach the 6th floor. 3 hours from now, the news of your advancement will be announced to all players.
Chapter 190. You are the first to reach the 6th floor. 3 hours from now, the news of your advancement will be announced to all players. All stats increase by 0.3 points. You acquire 2 level 3 skill level up coupons. You acquire 1 level 2 consolidation coupon. I arrived at the 6th floor alone, covered in mud, vomit, and garbage. I collapsed to the ground and threw up again. My stomach churned as yellowish gastric juices spilled from my mouth. I brushed aside my disgust with a sigh and forced myself to stand. Only then did I finally take in the full view of the 6th floor. What greeted me after passing through the most disgusting passage was the most beautiful sight in the world. Welcome to the 6th floor, Splendor. The 6th floor is a neutral floor. I was speechless. My mind went blank, and my heart seemed to stop at the breathtaking view. The sun and moon shone together in a magnificent flash. The sky was painted in blue and navy, with clusters of stars and glowing Milky Ways. An emerald waterfall shot up from the ground, and a pink forest full of jewel-like leaves sparkled nearby. I couldn't take my eyes off the spectacular scene. If heaven existed, it would look like this. Even the Garden of Eden couldn't compare. But soon I shook my head and came to my senses, remembering why I was here. My top priority was to reach the 8th floor. Then I had to block the bridge connecting the 8th and 9th floors. Why? Because the 9th floor contained a calamity that needed to be delayed as much as possible. I didn't know what would happen if people rushed in like in the original novel. I could easily imagine an alert. It was determined that the calamity as described in the original is too weak, which would make the calamity much harder. I could expect that much from my experiences so far.
Of course, players risking their lives to climb the tower would still try to reach the 9th floor without delay. I had to stop them. Currently, I could only think of one way: shooting arrows to show them that they weren't ready for the next floor. To do that, I needed to hone my skills first. I stretched as I looked around. The 6th floor's crystal steel was nearby. As soon as I touched the crystal steel to save my current location, someone appeared before me. Oh, that surprised me. Without a sound, a woman appeared out of nowhere, standing like a statue. But I knew who she was. Irene, the administrator of the 6th floor. Nice to meet you. Are you the administrator? I introduced myself politely. Irene only smiled. Put your clothes back on first. She waved her hand lightly. Refreshing magic power flowed from her fingertips, washing away the mud on my body. Oh, yes, thank you. Irene watched as I hurriedly put my clothes back on, and then she asked, "Did you come here alone?" Her voice was soft and gentle, like a mother speaking to her child. Yes, but I do plan on bringing more people in the future." "Is that so?" Irene smiled, calming me. Yes. Oh, that's right. I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Irene, the administrator of the 6th floor. I already knew, but I nodded sincerely. As you can see, the 6th floor is very peaceful, and I wish to keep it that way. Yes. For that reason, one cannot stay here for long, nor can many people stay here at the same time. A system window popped up above my head. 1/111, 199.5758. I was surprised and pleased. I had 200 hours, not much different from Kim Soo-ho. For the record, the length of the time limit depends on how you treat the system. It seems that the child watching from above has taken a liking to you, so I gave you extra time. Now, I shall not interfere any longer. Do what is must. Oh, that's right. The ticket to the 7th floor is hidden somewhere on this floor. As soon as she finished, a ray of sunlight fell on me. The light was so bright I had to close my eyes. When I opened them again, Irene was gone. I took a deep breath, and Irene skipped a lot of details. The 6th floor was one of the most important floors I set up. Here, one could improve their skills dramatically in a short time. The objective of the 6th floor seemed simple. It was a treasure hunt. Players had to find tickets to the 7th floor while evading illusory beasts that appeared from time to time. If a player failed to find a ticket in time, their climb would end, since one could only stay on the 6th floor for the time given. But there was no need to worry. The tickets were everywhere. Still, it was foolish to move on to the 7th floor immediately after finding a ticket. It was better to spend all the allotted time here. Why? Because the 6th floor was the floor of growth. I checked the time. 3 p.m. I'll spend just 12 hours today. But then my thoughts paused. What was it called again? There was a hot spring that Kim Soo-ho used, but I couldn't remember the name. I glanced at my smartwatch and checked the settings again. Spring of Peace. That's right. Spring of Peace. It was a natural training ground, filled with half water and half spirit energy. The spring restored all energy as soon as it was consumed, whether magic power or spirit energy. I found the location of the spring through the Book of Truth and got into the Dwarfen supercar. A system alert popped up just as I was about to drive off. Your pet Spartan is growing. Spartan awakened a new trait. 3rd trait, Summon. It can now be summoned by its master whenever and wherever. Oh, the timing was perfect. Spartan could become stronger here. We should train together. Summon. I muttered quietly. But no matter how long I waited, there was no sign of a summon, and the 6th floor remained as silent as a library. Summon? I expected a portal to appear, but nothing happened. Gee! Suddenly, a loud cry filled the air. I looked up startled and saw Spartan flying among the clouds, the sun, and moon. What? There was no trace of magic power. Spartan just appeared out of nowhere. Gee! Spartan circled the sky, flying between the sun and the moon, then landed on my shoulder. His dashing figure finally looked a little like an eagle. Let's go do some training. Peep! His chirping sounded a bit more mature now. I headed towards the hot spring with Spartan. After driving the dwarf supercar for about 10 minutes, I arrived at the hot spring. The spring was surrounded by sapphire rocks and the water was bright and clear. I took off my clothes and went right in. Spartan hesitantly followed. The heat from the hot spring engulfs your body. Stats increase 30% faster. Stamina, magic power, and spirit power recover 100% faster. It gave a series of incredible buffs. But before I began training, I decided to close my eyes and enjoy the hot spring. So good. My body warmed and my head turned foggy. I must be in heaven. About 3 minutes in, I suddenly laughed out loud.
Spartan was floating on the water with his stomach up. If someone saw him, they'd think he was a bird that drowned. Hey, sit up straight! Suddenly, something caught my attention. I saw something black between the leaves and through the steam from the hot spring. At first, I thought I was mistaken. Then I realized I couldn't be wrong. The 1,000-mile eyes were always right. Hey, Spartan! I jumped up. I was naked, but that didn't matter. Spartan, go that way. I pointed toward where the dark figure had been. Black fur, glossy mane, and a sleek, well-built body. If I was right, that was the legendary horse Bucephalus. The first castle attack ended. The result, involving 53 participants from 3 different guilds, was a success. After much struggle, the allied team managed to break down the gate, kill all the demons inside, and occupy the castle. With the castle attack successful, the 53 players were sprawled on the ground, too exhausted to celebrate. Chae-Ne-Yoon caught her breath in silence. Her arms ached as if they would snap, and every muscle in her body throbbed with pain. How many times had she swung her sword? How many sword strikes had she fired? And how much magic power had she used? It was enough to make her worry about her longsword's durability. She'd heard of a new blacksmith's workshop opening in Prestige. She'd decided to visit when she got back. Chae-Ne-Yoon looked at a spot not far away. About 10 steps away was Rachel. As a royal, Rachel surely had a refined way to rest. She was on her knees, eyes closed, breathing slowly. With every breath, the nearby wind and earth trembled. So it's an elementalist's way of breathing, not a royal's. Chae-Ne-Yoon watched in awe before finally speaking. Hey! Rachel heard Chae-Ne-Yoon's whisper and opened her eyes. Rachel didn't answer, simply staring at Chae-Ne-Yoon. Though she was the one who called Rachel, she was at a loss for words. She finally managed to say one thing. Good work. You too. Rachel answered casually and returned to meditation. Chae-Ne-Yoon watched her carefully. Hey! She called again. Again, Rachel didn't answer, just stared. I mean, it's nothing. It's just, we fought together, and I want to ask you something. Something was bothering Chae-Ne-Yoon. It wasn't sudden, it had been on her mind for a while. Every time she saw Rachel, a thought sprang up. Sometimes it made her blood boil with anger. Everyone knew about the English royal court and Fenrir. You see, if things ended there, it wouldn't be a problem. But rumors have been circulating that Rachel and Fenrir were in a scandalous relationship. That really bothered her. She knew it wasn't her business, and thinking about it only made her angry. Still, forgetting was just too hard. Feelings weren't something you could control. You and Kim Hajin, but it was hard for her to say that name. Chae-Ne-Yoon stopped. She clenched her teeth, looking at Rachel, who tilted her head in curiosity. Anyway, you and him. The reason Chae-Ne-Yoon entered the Tower of Wish.
Her top priority was to find Kim Hajin. She was interested in the tower because she was sure Kim Hajin would come. Have you guys met inside this tower? Chae Na-yoon finally managed to ask. Rachel shook her head. No. You're lying. It's true. Chae Na-yoon licked her lips at the straightforward response. A princess wouldn't lie so easily, right? Then, is there something between... What do you mean? No, I mean, well, sigh. After a moment of hesitation, Chae Na-yoon frowned. No, never mind. Just let me know if you run into him later. Keep it a secret from him. Why? Rachel's crystal-like eyes stared at Chae Na-yoon. You don't need to know why. I mean, it's better to stay on good terms. I'm pretty influential in the strait, so I'll say good things about you and the Royal Court Guild. Brr. Others must have been eavesdropping, as several people snorted. Of course, they all lowered their heads when Chae Na-yoon glared at them. Chae Na-yoon blushed and glanced at Rachel. To her surprise, Rachel smiled softly and nodded without mockery. Okay. That made Chae Na-yoon even more embarrassed. By the way, I got this sword from a quest. Do you want to see? She fiddled with the rare longsword. It's nice. Can I hold it? Oh, yeah, here you go. Rachel's eyes widened as she examined the sword. Yep, it's awesome. Chae Na-yoon secretly smiled in satisfaction. Oh, that sword is upgradable too. The blacksmith said I could get it to level 5 or 6. Wow, really? Good work, everyone. The alert for the reward should be coming out any time. Right then, Kim Young-jin shouted, clapping. Players who participated in the castle attack screamed with joy. Soon, a system window popped up. You successfully conquered the first castle. Contributions are being calculated based on merit. Players watched the system in silence. Calculation complete. Oh, the team leaders of each guild reacted differently. Essence of the Straits Kim Young-jin looked confident, Rachel clasped her hands as if praying, and Frost Sanctuary's Jung Ho-sun licked his lips. The 53 players looked at the system window, each with different expectations. Participants: 3 parties and 1 individual player. Party 1, Essence of the Strait. Contribution 32%. Party 2, Frost Sanctuary. Contribution 27%. Party 3, English Royal Court. Contribution 24%. Individual player. Contribution 17%. There was no cheering, no pats on the shoulder. The crowd fell completely silent. There was only one reason for the deadly stillness. Individual player. Contribution 17%. It was all because of the existence of an individual player who shouldn't exist. Amid the confusion, the system kept spitting out new messages. Rewards will be given out based on contribution. A total of 15,000 TP will be divided according to the contribution ratio. The lottery for a special item will now proceed. The higher the contribution, the higher the chances of winning the lottery. Lottery? What is this? The place became noisy again. Lottery in process. Gulp. The sound of nervous swallowing filled the castle. They didn't know what this lottery was for, but it surely was for an amazing item. A special item is most likely a skill book, so our guild should get it if possible. Such thoughts filled every player's mind. Individual player is the winner of the lottery. The special reward will be sent to the individual player. Icy silence filled the air. Young-yun. Kim Young-jin broke the silence and called his subordinate. Yes, I did ask you to record a video of the castle attack, right? Yes, I did record it with the player shop's recorder. Show it to me. However, before the allied team could grasp the situation, Notification: an unknown player has reached the 6th floor. A new wave of shock struck them. 3F Prestige, Riri Restaurant. This was a restaurant owned by Henry and Kiri, the first of its kind outside the inner walls.
So you're saying it's all Black Lotus is doing? Jin Se-yeon asked as she ate the restaurant's best dish, meat-flavored corn-fried rice. Next to her was So Young-ji. Yes, an arrow came flying from somewhere and killed 10 magicians at once. Kim Young-jin wanted to know if it was you, but since you said no, it must have been Black Lotus. Jin Se-yeon grinned. So this Black Lotus helped finish the first castle attack, then ran all the way to the 6th floor? Probably. They're not sure if it was him who climbed to the 6th floor. Amazing. Jin Se-yeon laughed at the turn of events. Then, a particular individual caught her eye. Oh, Youngji, over there. Let's see. It's Aileen Hieronym. Aileen was plodding through the entrance of Prestige, hands in her pockets. What's wrong with her? Jin Se-yeon asked, curious. Aileen was on guard, walking in a cute manner. Oh, I heard she lost some TP before. Ever since then, she's been on alert in the city. Right then, Jin Se-yeon and Aileen's eyes met. Ah? Aileen grimaced. Jin Se-yeon gave a polite nod. Aileen looked at her with disapproving eyes, then approached her and So Young-ji quickly. Nice to meet you, Miss Aileen. Jin Se-yeon stood and greeted her. So, you came. Aileen pouted, slightly embarrassed to look up at Jin Se-yeon, who was more than 20 centimeters taller than her. Yes, I did. So Young-ji watched their battle of nerves. Well, it was more like Aileen picking a fight. In any case, she thought to herself, who is stronger, the Temple of Justice's hero or a master rank hero? The subject was controversial. Some said the former, others the latter. It's an honor to meet the Spirit Speech Master. I apologize for the late greeting. I had a lot going on. Aileen was one of the strongest even in the Temple of Justice. Treated as a giant second only to the 9 stars, Jin Se-yeon adopted a modest attitude. Anyways, what brings you here? You should have just kept doing volunteer work. Aileen decided to use polite speech too. The age difference wasn't big, and she didn't want to get too friendly. Ah, did you not hear the rumors? Rumors? Aileen looked oblivious at first, then nodded knowingly. She's probably talking about Black Lotus. You're here to catch him too? Does that mean Miss Aileen is here to do the same? That's right. Did you hear about what happened at the castle attack today? Aileen didn't answer. It was tacit consent. Suddenly, Jin Se-yeon pointed down the street. Ah, here comes the participants themselves. Kim Young-jin, Jung Ho-sun, Rachel, Chae Na-yeon, Lee Ji-yeon, and others, the so-called rankers of the great guilds revered by all players, were approaching the restaurant. Miss Aileen, why don't we hear what happened directly from the participants? Well, that doesn't sound too bad. Then please have a seat. Jin Se-yeon pointed to the seat next to her. Worried she might lose her money again, Aileen slowly sat down, her hands still in her pockets.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.